The wall. Small minds love lines, straight edged and two dimensional, slashed through sand or upon maps, starkly marking this and that. Small minds see barriers in nature: bark of tree, rind of fruit, skin and fur and water's edge. As soon as they can, they lift their own with nimble little monkey hands. But barriers are permeable. Deserts commingle with forests, flora flourish in our guts, and even minds bleed across the ether. The wall stands, a gash in the porous membrane of millennia, yet birds still wing their journeys above. Water and root curl beneath, and wind rattles its laughing way through the bars. How foolish to expect that such a flimsy thing could ever stop the flow of dreams, ideas, or love. The wall. Small minds
On the other hand,
love lines,
a dark future of despair.
straight edged and two dimensional, slashed through sand or upon maps, starkly marking this and that. Small minds see barriers in nature: bark of tree, rind of fruit, skin and fur and water's edge. As soon as they can, they lift their own with nimble little monkey hands. But barriers are permeable. Deserts commingle with forests, flora flourish in our guts, and even minds bleed across the ether. The wall stands, a gash in the porous membrane of millennia, yet birds still wing their journeys above. Water and root curl beneath, and wind rattles its laughing way through the bars. How foolish to expect that such a flimsy thing could ever stop the flow of dreams, ideas, or love.
Chulas fronteras del norte, cómo las extraño, no las divisaba desde hacía un año.
Facing Us, after Yusef Komanyaka. My black face fades, hiding inside black smoke. I knew they'd use it, damn it, tear gas. I'm grown, I'm fresh. Their clouded assumption eyes me like a runaway, guilty as night chasing morning. I run this way, the street lets me go. I turn that way, I'm inside the back of a police van again, depending on my attitude to be the difference. I run down the signs, half expecting to find my name protesting in ink. I touch the name Freddie Gray. I see the beat cop's worn eyes. Names stretch across the people's banner, but when they walk away, the names fall from our lips. Paparazzi flash. Call it riot. The ground. A body on the ground. A white cop's image hovers over us. Then his blank gaze looks through mine. I'm a broken window. He's raised his right arm, a gun in his hand. In the black smoke, a drone tracking targets. No, a crow gasping for air. My black face fades, hiding inside black smoke. I knew they'd use it. Damn it, tear gas. I'm grown. I'm fresh. Their clouded assumption eyes me like a runaway, guilty as night-chasing mornings. I run. This way, the street lets me go. I turn. That way, I'm inside the back of a police van again, depending on my attitude to be the difference. I run down the signs, half expecting to find my name protesting in ink. I touch the name, Freddie Gray. I see the beat cop's worn eyes. Names stretch across the people's banner, but when they walk away, the names fall from our lips. Paparazzi flash. Call it riot.
No longer a peaceful protest when you try to injure people.
The ground. A body on the ground. A white cop's image hovers over us. Then his blank gaze looks through mine. I'm a broken window. He's raised his right arm, a gun in his hand. In the black smoke, a drone tracking targets. No, a crow gasping for air.
Caltech PF9, a rare piece of American history released online for auction by the United Gun Group. The pistol, procured by a former police officer, a bargain for any connoisseur of American heartbreak. The firearm icon carries the case number from the Battle of Trayvon in permanent marker. While it is fairly young in age, it has seen its share of bloodshed. This item has already piqued the interest of many police departments' training programs. Funds will be used to aid in the representation of police officers appealing their wrongful death suits. Opening bid, $100,000. Will appreciate in value with use.
This guy looks like he's up to no good or he's on drugs or something.
A guy is raising his hands up.
Worst guy's dead out here. Holy
There's gunshots.
I'm a free American. I can do what I'd like with my possessions. And I thought it's time to move past the firearm. And if I sell it and it sells, I move past it.
Do I think it's distasteful to put it on auction because someone died? No, I don't.
My son was innocent. My son was the victim. My son didn't shoot and kill anyone. He didn't even own a gun.
He's got something in his hand. These assholes, they always get away.
Are you following him?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need you to do that.
I understand that we have a verdict. Are we ready for the jury to come in? Members of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
State of Florida versus George Zimmerman. Verdict: we, the jury, find George Zimmerman not guilty.
After we didn't get a conviction and the person who shot and killed Trayvon was acquitted, then what we wanted to do was make sure that we built a legacy for Trayvon. And so the focus continued to change, but we always knew what the purpose was. And the purpose was to make sure that we made sure that other children, other young people, felt a little safer.
lowercase shells scattered across Ukraine's capital. Bruised, broken skin only braises Ukrainians' spirits, lighting ragged Russia vodka bottles burned when there is only round tables. No position is turned. Strength is found through vantage. Surviving a home invasion creates new adages, right? To share, which is the receipt of the living. Heroic to leave, courageous to stay. Cowardice took trains from Moscow to Ukraine. Border doors as war knocks. To answer is with Molotov cocktails. To answer is with dismantling street signs. To answer is to take it here when it was brought from there. If resistance finds comfort, reject its advances. The language of collision is comedic, but y'all, it's not comical. It's a Kiev slapstick, rocks and slingshots, starving out Goliath tanks. The gigantic are the hearts wrapped in blue and yellow, and the tongue of strength says, I'm not hiding, so that their people can. Lowercase shells scattered across Ukraine's capital. Bruised, broken skin only braises Ukrainian spirit. Lighting rags, Russian vodka bottles burned when there is only round tables. No position is turned. Strength is found through vantage. Surviving a home invasion creates new adages to share, which is the receipt of the living. Heroic to leave, courageous to stay. Cowardice took trains from Moscow to Ukraine. Border doors as the war knocks. To answer is with Molotov cocktails. To answer is with dismantling street signs. To answer is to court your home's advantage. To take it here when it was brought from there. If resistance finds comfort, reject its advances. The language of collision is comedic, but it's not comical. It's Kiev slapstick, rocks and slingshots, starving out Goliath tanks. The gigantic are hearts wrapped in blue and yellow, and the tongue of strength says, I'm not hiding, so that their people can. I don't know if it can change the world. It will piss the powers that be off.
Poets have certain tools at their disposal certain ways of reminding people of who they are and what matters.
I believe that the poet's mandate, and by far probably one of the hardest things to do at this time in our world, is to keep looking.
I think poets' responsibilities are to be observant about the world that we live in and use our unique tools to bring it to life through poetry.
Will poetry change the world / art change the world? I think it can change a person.
You know, it's very easy to turn a blind eye, to walk away, to retreat, I guess, and kind of find other places to put your mind, even to fantasize and to dream. You know, that's something I think that poets do often.
The words of the poets, the words of the writers, who remind us again and again where we've come from and where we hope we're going.
To live in every difficult moment, to be able to be the reporters and the griots, to make people stand still.
Lyrical ways of stirring their emotions, of prodding them into action, of making them remember our shared humanity and our rootedness to the world.
Even to fantasize and to dream, you know, that's something I think that poets do often. But I think our mandate more than anything else is to be able to take note of the small changes and the nuances.
So that the reader, the audience, can see a fuller picture or maybe see a slant of the world that we're in that they didn't previously see. That raises awareness, that starts conversations, and in that we can impact change.
And it can change a group of people, right? It can ignite something.
But that there's a whole world that's ever evolving around them that they're a part of and that they have to respond to.
But the change would have to come from the people.
And I think that that is the big picture, thinking about our interconnectedness, the solidarity with which we have to face the very difficult problems of the future, be they climate change or the eventual ending of this world's existence when the sun eventually burns us out. I mean, there are these kinds of existential issues that the species, the human species, has to deal with as one. And that kind of unity only comes from recognizing the value and worth of every single human being.
So at best, poetry, art is to me, is a match.
The concept of found poetry for me, I think, exists everywhere. As someone who's always looking for inspiration in new ways and new places, and who's also completely obsessed with the rhythm of natural language, I think I'm always hearing something more poetic than it needs to be. You know, my husband says that I fight in poems, and that's why he won't get into a verbal argument with me.
Our specific identities and communities are what makes us uniquely human, and those specific stories then teach us universal human truths. It's the reason that literature exists. It's the reason we preserve stories for thousands of years, because of the lessons we learn from them.
Poetic language, condensed, metaphoric, evocative, can reframe the world and allow us to see things in new ways.
I feel like a good poet, right? Once you get past form, once you get past literary devices, once you get past mastering or understanding and able to write a poem, not a rant, a poem, right?
I think poetry's superpower is first and foremost that it speaks to a language that is universal, that crosses time. When the poet has done all of their work, right, to sit with the poem, grapple with what it is they're trying to say, play with imagery and language, that opens a portal into something else. It taps into something that's uniquely human.
When I go about writing a poem that I want to have resonate for a long time, I doubt I'll be as lucky as Homer to have my work resonate for thousands of years. But if I want it to kind of catch in the minds of listeners and readers the lyrical nature of the poem, the melodic nature of the poem has got to be pretty powerful. I've got to be using mechanisms that will allow it to latch onto something that's already there in the mind.
Something there that like is in our natural beat, our natural rhythm, the cadence of the way we speak, the cadence of the way that we report. Each of those kind of times we change from our more professional sound to our more colloquial sound. I think we invoke a certain kind of rhythm and a certain kind of poetry. And so I'm always interested in thinking about how that moves us to a more visual element, how that can paint a picture even in text.
When you want to get to the heart of something, right? You need to be a cultural mirror, right? You need to be a cultural mirror to what's happening.
But poetry is like where we sit still and hold hands. It's in the subtle things, it's in the small moments, it's in the crevices between the cracks of the sidewalk.
My favorite poets are the ones who are speaking truth with their words, not just their words though, speaking truth with their words, with their learned forms of poetry, with their literary devices, with all of these things that they learn, right? The art part, right? To the power of what it is.
Poetry makes us sit still in those and then blows them completely out of proportion. It's like falling into a world like Alice in Wonderland and finding all of these trinkets and nuances and things that we can dig into and look at more closely. I think poetry resonates on that level with us. And so, it's its own beast. It's its own unique thing that really helps us to look at the world differently and also to like pay attention.
That is the work that poetry can do and connects us. I think the most powerful thing it can do is connect us, and that opens the opportunity for so much more to happen.
It's a form of a timestamp of how people are feeling.
This little genre that a lot of writers avoid because it's nuanced and it's sometimes difficult and it's hard to fit in form. But I think once you master it, you can write anything, and there's something really beautiful about that.
Recently, I've been thinking a lot about how small minds influence the world. Their very unnuanced and inhumane way of looking at the world in terms of just what they can extract from it, the lines they can draw in the sand to taunt other people to try to cross so that they can be justified in using force to stop them. These are the kinds of things that strike me as the behavior of animals rather than human beings. And perhaps that's being cruel to animals, but certainly it's not the act of anyone who is driven by what anybody, any philosopher, has seen as ethics throughout the history of the human race.
A lot of regimes that operate on force and authoritarianism, they don't like art. And they don't like art because good art touches the heart, and it's a mirror to the monstrous things that they do. Right? So that's why a lot of times, like, they'll just destroy it. They'll destroy it or replace art, right? Calling it art, but it's propaganda.
The wall at the border is perhaps symbolic of these larger divisions among different groups of humans that keep us from coming together and working for the betterment of all.
I think in the moments where I found the most success and also the most intrigue has been when poetry is coupled with music and film, when it like bleeds out of its own genre into these new forms, where it can kind of take over and show how it shines when it's matched with visual arts or when it's living in an art piece.
I consider myself an activated poet, an activist poet, in the sense that anyone who takes action, be they a poet or whatever your profession is, that you care about the community you live in and you will not be silent and you are called to action.
So having something like poems that is tangible, but the stakes are low, ultimately, but you can use this to like really like Fight for something that you believe in, and I think that's important.